So, Deepika, what is the impact of migration on mental health and identity? And how can we make this healing a movement?
Yeah, a lot of my clients are migrant, because a lot of the modern Asian, Chinese, and Indian, being the broader one, we are all migrant community. And it really depends on how successful the migration journey is or unsuccessful it is, and also what made us leave. So I'll start with the easy one, right? Like in today's world, if you're a first generation migrating out of India, let's say, or China, I'll talk about these two countries first because it's the most relevant in my work also, is if you're migrating because you're like, okay, I've done something good in my own country, I've been successful, I've studied, I got my degree, now I want to explore opportunity, you're migrating with strength. Because you're like, okay, I'm good here, I went to the best universities in my country, or I tried, and now I'm being offered a job somewhere or a business opportunity somewhere, and I can see it and I'm going there with clarity, right? That is migration out of strength. Then you have a lot of gift to offer them. There is a sense of pride in a good way. Like, okay, I'm good. I'm going from a place where I'm enough, right? But if we look at 1 or 2 generations back, the migration stories were not so much like that. Maybe some, but many were either out of forced migration, you had to because of a civil war, or because of a war, a weapon war, or in a lot of the Chinese communities for better opportunity because there was poverty that felt unbearable. The good thing is they knew they had creativity, so they can look for opportunity. But living under those conditions means we are leaving from a place of some kind of shame, right? Or some kind of grief, which is the forced one. So when we leave like that, we need to first be able to see that we haven't left out of joy, we haven't left out of excitement for new land and new opportunity. We have left from a place of injury, right? And if we don't factor that into, and that transmits generationally. So if a parent moves from a place of grief, then the children are shadowed by that grief unless they have looked at it. Because the grief is like, oh, we are, there is a narrative of a family. Oh, we are the family who was unfortunate because we had to leave, right? Or we are the family who is so poor. So now we have to work really hard and we cannot stop working round the clock. Otherwise, we might go back to poverty. So these beliefs, I think belief systems, you can call it that. You can say it's just the energy that keeps overshadowing. And if we modern people like you and I think we are not affected by that, then we are not looking at it in a more conscious way. Because Singapore, interestingly, has been able to modernize. Indonesia looks different. Indonesia, you can still see how that carries forward in the family. There's still so much trap over there. But even in Singapore, it looks a little bit different. So in every country, it looks a little bit different. So it's... But we are still living in the shadow of that generationally. And until we reckon with it, a lot of what we can surface as even like imposter syndrome, not knowing what we have to contribute to our workplace, not knowing how to form a reasonably good relational intimacy. And if we feel like that's not related, then we really have to look back, because talk about relationship, right? Relationship is formed in a community. It's formed when we are all together, we all look the same, we are all cooking the same food, wearing the same clothes. And then when we move to another country, like everybody looks different, right? So then you have to really rebuild that. You have to learn how to relate in a whole other way and create a life in a whole other way, and create and shift a whole other identity to be able to now live here versus back home, right? If it's a good story, then it's okay, we are adaptable, people are nice, we can share our culture. But that's rarely the case in the past. It's always a fight. Oh, these are strange people. They might attack us. They cannot be trusted. They cannot be given too much responsibility. Or they have da-da-da-da-da. So we live constantly from those kind of limitations. And that continues to impact our life, which is what which is why transgenerational and ancestral work is key. If we are here to reclaim, release limitations and reclaim a more wholesome self, so we kind of gathered all the pieces of who we are. Yeah. So we look modern, but we are ancient kind of a situation.